Dude, what?
Was that the Sigma you sold?
Yes, the Sigma I sold to buy this.
There you go.
This is one of my favorite photos of the entire past year, and I took it with a 17-year-old camera. This is gonna seem strange after my massive review of the Sony RX1R Mark II, because now I've jumped to the opposite end of the spectrum. This is a day in the life of a photo walk from my local metro station to Union Station, which is the main hub in downtown Los Angeles. About a year ago, I started taking a large interest in street photography, and it's because I'm always looking for ways to improve my skills as a cinematographer, trying to improve my filmmaker eye, because having a unique vision is vital to making your audience feel something.
Yeah, it comes on this side. Oh yeah, I'm gonna catch a snap of it too, actually. I should do a slow shutter.
I started using a Leica M8 rangefinder because I was looking for a different experience when I was out on the street. And what I ended up getting in return was an education, not only in photography, but also about myself. And I know that sounds corny as hell, but it's the truth. Alex Webb says street photography is all about 99.9% failure. He actually calls it the art of failure. And the iconic Robert Frank said there's something good about being a failure. It keeps you going. So I don't mind that the majority of these photos are duds. I've never had any shame about showing you all the ugly, because for me, it's more important to take you all on the entire journey. A lot of my favorite street photographers shoot on film, and the Leica M6 seems to be the staple. Yet, because of the current cost of film, and then the extra expense of developing and scanning that film, with each push of the shutter, one roll of film can turn into $46. It doesn't make sense for someone like me in the experimental phase and still developing my craft. So I had to find something comparable to a film Leica, but yet still modern enough for practical purposes. Something basic and without video capabilities, so it wouldn't distract from the ultimate goal. A simple tool to help me capture the humanity of the moment while inspiring my vision. The closest thing to the analog experience, but with the convenience of digital, is the Leica M8. The M8 was Leica's first digital rangefinder, released way back in 2006. And they teamed up with Kodak to make the unique CCD sensor that's inside. A lot of people call it digital Kodachrome. Now, some would argue that the M9 would be the better choice because it is full frame versus the M8's 1.33 crop, but the M9 suffer from sensor corrosion. And I know there are a lot of them out there that already have the sensor replaced, but in my opinion, that defeats the purpose because now you no longer have that original Kodak sensor. Whereas the M8, even though it does have a slight crop, it is the original Kodak Leica sensor without corrosion. But it is only 10 megapixels with a very limited ISO range of 160 to 2500. And I don't even push it beyond 640. But even though the technology is old, it still has 16 bits per color with a dynamic range of 11 stops. Plus, a real big slept-on feature of the M8 is that it's the only Leica M camera with a mechanical shutter speed of 1/8000th of a second. But beyond the crop sensor, another common complaint is it suffers from IR pollution. And as you may already know, that low IR filtration has made it a cult classic for a poor man's monochrome. Yet by adding an IR cut filter, it produces a very unique organic quality. And something else you don't hear too much about is that the M8 is a great option for infrared photography, which I have been having a lot of fun with and most definitely have a video coming up on that. So if you're new here, welcome, and I hope you tap that subscribe button.
Get a shot of him real quick too. Right here.
I have 4 lenses I use on the M8. My standard lens is the Leica 40mm Summicron. My current favorite is the Leica 90mm L Merit. And I also have a 7 Artisan 75mm f1.25. It's a cool lens, but I'm trying to get rid of it because I don't care for how large it is. And then I still have my Canon 28mm f2.8 LTM, which is my black and white lens because it is the only one I don't have an IR filter for.
Really slow shutters. Damn, now he's on the move. I think I got it though. I mean, it's okay. It would have been rad to get more people around him, but it's pretty good how it is. All those, I mean, this isn't any way to judge the picture, but it would have been nice to have more blurs around him. But it's rad that he's wearing yellow and he's like standing out. That's kind of cool. Would have been cooler if it was more populated, more blurs around him. It would have felt like he was in the middle of like a cyclone or something. Maybe he'll come back. Oh. Fell down in the road. I leaned too far. Kept her straight though. That's all that matters.
My original draw to the M8 was its Kodak CCD sensor. And even though it only has 10 megapixels, that's still a 4K resolution, and it does not have an anti-aliasing filter, so it renders images quite sharp, especially if you're pairing it with a Leica lens.
This is a 28, but this is a slight crop, so it's actually more like a 37 mil, which is fine. That's actually what I'm used to shooting with the RX1, being 35 on full frame, so it's okay. Kind of cool.
And because of that low megapixel count, one little 16 gigabyte SD card allows for 1600 exposures. And that's at full cinema DNG RAW.
That full silhouette down the hallway. I think that's as good as I'm gonna get it, honestly. Yeah. I think we should go out and hang out and try to get some shots of people like on the train.
Plus, the battery life is awesome. After a 6-hour trip, I still have 25% battery left. But keep in mind, I don't use the LCD screen that much. There's not a need to, plus there's no live view on the M8 anyways, which again are all reasons why I bought it. Trying to get as close to that analog feel as possible.
It's cool. She moved. I got it before that though. I wanna get like a blurry shot as they're leaving. One of these has gotta leave. It's kinda cool with the guy standing over there. It's really an experiment, but it's also good to stop relying on the machine. You know, like coming off of the RX1 to this is like total different sides of the spectrum.
The M8 is the ultimate film simulation camera, both from the inside and out. But the most revelatory thing about using a rangefinder is the ability to see outside of the frame. It's something that took a couple weeks to grow accustomed to, and during the first 12 days with the M8, I was actually feeling uninspired, as if somehow I was getting worse. The beauty of the rangefinder is that it allows you to see outside of the box, because you're looking through a little window, and you have frame lines. You can see everything in the frame, as well as everything outside of that frame. And by being able to see beyond the frame lines, there's potential for your vision. In a matter of seconds, you can adjust your frame to include something you may not have noticed before. Or you can sit and wait for all the elements to fall within those frame lines and then snap the shutter.
Here we go. Wait for those layers to come up. The thing that I have to remember to do is to stop pushing the composition all the way to the frame line. It's like if you frame within the frame lines, then you know your composition will be okay. But I tend to push it all the way, and it's like, it's either too far, or yeah, so that's the hardest learning curve with the frame lines. You know, because you're not actually seeing what the lens is seeing. You're not, you're just seeing, you're looking through the window.
Because of the rangefinder, my process on the street is becoming rejuvenated.
Realism combined with extraordinary.
And the simplicity of the old technology inside of the M8 makes me feel like I'm shooting on an analog hybrid.
Let me go back to F8. Oh, wait a second. Got the janitor.
I get all the feels of a film camera, but with the convenience of digital Kodachrome.
This has the same crop size as the Komodo, so it kind of gets rid of any nastiness that the lens might have regarding like vignette and stuff like that. Yeah, this lens has gnarly vignette. If you go back and, I did a review on this lens with the Sigma. This is a crazy lens, but now that I'm using it on an actual Leica camera, compared to the 40mm Summicron,
and I know most things about Leica involve very high price tags and insane fanboy circles. But I must say, after using the rangefinder out on my own streets, I finally get it. I understand why all the people I look up to rely on these specific tools to capture their vision. I also now understand why they call them instruments instead of tools. I used to think Leica was more of a badge of status, and let's be real, in a lot of circles it still is. But the M system specifically, with its rangefinder, is quite eye-opening. Having the ability to see beyond the frame is a game changer. What I enjoy the most about the rangefinder is that it reminds me of a director's viewfinder, and that makes for more creative photography, because you're not dependent on what the lens is seeing. It puts you back in the driver's seat of being the composer of the shot. The M8 brings a certain level of rawness back to the image. It's completely devoid of perfection and staleness. There's a certain kind of mayhem in a really good photograph. I, for one, am not attracted to the perfection. I want more chaos in photography, and that's what I was hungry for, and that's what led me to trying out the M8.
people down here. There's no humanity. There's no humanity going to Glendale. See how many photos I took? 215. But there's a lot of ones that I was taking just to judge exposure or framing, so I wouldn't count all 215 of those. But now imagine if this was an M6, which would be film. I wouldn't waste pictures on like just judging exposure or compensation because there's literally no way to review it. So it wouldn't be a full 215, but just for the sake of math, because I've already done the math, by the time you factor in the price of the roll and the price of developing and scanning, it's $1.27 per picture, okay? So, and I just took 215 pictures. We times that by $1.27, I would have just spent $273.05. But also I should say, like, obviously you wouldn't develop and scan every single picture. So that may be like a general inflation, right? Because they're not all gonna be bangers. I don't see the advantage in it. I feel like people that are hooked on it are chasing like the nostalgia of it, which I appreciate. I respect that. It's just not something that, to me, it's not economical.
The biggest thing is this camera will definitely remind you of how bad you suck. Just the way, you know, it's just gets back to the basics, and then you're like, oh, yeah, when you're not relying on the machine, you're quickly reminded of, you have to remember, like, what are you trying to do? You're just really trying to show your personality. You have to remember that. Like, how do you get away from just taking a normal snapshot? It's like, well, what is that? What is that? I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. That'll be the perfect tie out to the video. I don't know what I'm doing.